Consistency isn't hard because you're weak. It's hard because life doesn't care about your plans. Some days you wake up motivated. Other days, your energy is gone, your emotions are heavy, and everything feels harder than it should. And that's where most people fail. Not because they don't want discipline, but because they were never taught how to stay consistent when motivation disappears. If you're tired of starting strong and fading out, subscribe now. This channel is about mastering yourself, not hype. Here's the truth, nobody tells you. Consistency has nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with identity. Most people treat consistency like a mood. They show up when they feel like it. They quit when they don't. But consistency is not emotional, it's structural. Life will test you with stress, boredom, failure, disappointment, chaos. And if your consistency depends on perfect conditions, you'll never last. Motivation is a spark. Consistency is a system. Motivation says, let's go. Consistency says, we go anyway. That's why people start gyms and quit, start businesses and abandon them, start healing and relapse. Not because they don't care, but because they built their habits on emotion, not structure. Think about the person who says, I just need to get my life together first. They wait for the right time, the right energy, the right mood, but life never clears the path. The most consistent people aren't the most confident. They're the ones who learn how to move forward while uncertain. They learn how to keep going even when nothing feels rewarding. The real enemy isn't procrastination. It's internal negotiation. That voice that says, just skip today. You can restart tomorrow. One day won't matter. That voice feels logical, but it slowly destroys momentum. Consistency isn't built by intensity. It's built by refusing to renegotiate with yourself. Every time you break a promise to yourself, your brain learns one thing: my word doesn't matter. And every time you keep a promise, even a small one, your brain starts to trust you again. Consistency is self-trust in action. And without self-trust, discipline collapses, confidence fades, progress feels impossible. So let's be clear. Consistency is not about doing more. It's about doing less, reliably. You don't need to feel ready, feel inspired, feel confident. You need a system that works on bad days, not good ones. Stay with me because I'm about to break down how to stay consistent when life is chaotic, how to design habits that survive stress, and the one rule that makes consistency automatic, even when you feel exhausted. Because once you understand this, consistency stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like who you are. Earlier, we established something critical. Consistency isn't about motivation. It's about identity, structure, and self-trust. Now, here's where most advice completely fails people. They teach consistency as if life is calm, as if you'll always have energy, as if emotions won't interfere. But real life is messy. So if consistency only works when things are easy, then it's not consistency, it's convenience. Life does not pause so you can get disciplined. You'll have days when you're tired before the day even starts. Your mind feels cluttered, your emotions feel heavy, nothing feels rewarding. And those are the days that define your future, not the good ones. Because consistency that only works when you feel good will collapse the moment pressure arrives. Here's the rule that changes everything. Your system must be easier to follow than it is to break. Most people design habits that require high energy, high focus, high motivation, and then they're surprised when they quit. But consistent people do the opposite. They design habits so small, so manageable, that even on their worst day, they can still show up. Not perfectly, just present. This is where consistency becomes unbreakable. Instead of asking, what's the best I can do today? You ask, what's the minimum I refuse to go below? That minimum might be 5 minutes instead of an hour, 1 page instead of a chapter, 1 action instead of 10. The goal isn't progress, the goal is continuity. Because momentum doesn't come from intensity, it comes from showing up again tomorrow. Think of the person who says, I failed because I missed a day. No, they failed because they believed missing a day meant quitting. Consistent people miss days too. They just don't miss twice. They don't spiral. They don't shame themselves. They don't restart from zero. They simply return. That's consistency. Here's something important. You will not feel like being consistent when your emotions are heavy. Stress, sadness, frustration, they drain the nervous system. So instead of fighting your emotions, consistent people work with them. They lower expectations. They simplify action. They protect momentum. Consistency isn't about forcing productivity. It's about maintaining identity under pressure. At some point, consistency stops being something you do and becomes something you are. You stop saying, I'm trying to be consistent, and start saying, I'm the kind of person who doesn't disappear when things get hard. This identity shift changes everything. Because once consistency is who you are, you don't debate it, you don't negotiate it, you don't need motivation. You act in alignment automatically. Here's a rule: consistent people live by. Decisions are made once, not daily. They don't wake up asking, should I do this today? They already decided. When you remove decision making, you remove resistance. Consistency thrives on clarity, not inspiration. Now, I'll show you how to stay consistent when you fail, how to recover without losing momentum, and the mindset shift that turns discipline into peace instead of pressure. Because the highest level of consistency isn't forcing yourself forward, it's becoming so aligned that stopping no longer feels like an option. By now, you understand something most people never learn. Consistency isn't about perfection, it's about returning without self-betrayal. Because failure is not what breaks consistency. Overreacting to failure does. Most people don't quit because they fail. They quit because they turn failure into identity. They miss one day and think, I'm lazy, I always fall off, what's the point now? But that reaction causes more damage than the failure itself. Consistency dies when shame enters the system. Here's the rule consistent people live by: never miss twice. That's it. They don't spiral. They don't overcorrect. They don't punish themselves with unrealistic goals. They simply return calmly. Consistency isn't built by intensity after failure. It's built by gentle re-entry. Imagine two people miss the same habit. Person A says, I ruined it. Person B says, all right, back tomorrow. One loses momentum. The other strengthens identity. The difference isn't discipline. It's self-relationship. How you speak to yourself after failure determines whether you rise or disappear. Here's the level most people never reach. Consistency stops feeling heavy when you stop tying it to worth. You don't show up to prove anything. You show up because this is how you take care of yourself. Consistency becomes a form of self-respect, a quiet promise kept daily, a grounding ritual, not a battle. When consistency is rooted in care, it lasts. The most consistent people aren't intense. They're calm. They don't rush. They don't chase. They don't panic. They move steadily, even when life is loud. That calmness is power. Consistency isn't about becoming someone new. It's about stopping the habit of abandoning yourself. When you stay, even imperfectly, everything compounds. Confidence, trust, progress, and slowly your life starts to change. If this message helped you, like the video, subscribe and turn on notifications if you're committed to mastering yourself, not just feeling motivated, and comment this below. I don't disappear anymore because consistency starts the moment you decide to stay.